and welcome back to Dear HR Insider, where we take real life workplace questions and get expert advice from our HR pros. Today's question touches on something that's become more and more important and prevalent in today's workplace, which is a culture that values wellness, empathy, and truly listening to our people. So I've invited our HR expert and wellness expert, Cynthia Peña, to share her perspective. Here is today's question. I keep hearing that wellness, empathy, and listening are critical for today's leaders. But what does that really look like in practice? How can leaders make these things part of everyday work and not just buzzwords? So I think this is a really good question. We talk about these ideas from time to time, but making them actually real takes intention. So, Cynthia, what advice do you have for leaders who want to put empathy and wellness into action?
Thank you for the question. I believe that wellness starts with yourself as a leader. So, leading by example, asking the question, like, how am I caring for myself so that I have space to show up and pour into my team and others in the workplace? That starts with modeling, self-care and a people-centered culture. People want to feel cared for, and I think that that starts with caring for yourself as a leader. So pausing, making sure that you are tending to your own needs, listening to your body, your mind, your spirit. Leaders can only meet other people in the community and on their team as to the level at which they've met themselves. So if they don't know how to connect with themselves, how are they going to connect with their employees or other people that are different from them? So I really encourage leaders to first start with yourself and develop a practice of mindfulness. How am I going to ground and connect with myself and, give myself a little care before I go out into the world? What am I needing? What needs to be tended to so I can be a good and kind and compassionate human, supporting others in my role today? And then, a leader's number one job is to empower and develop and remove barriers and ensure that, their team is rowing in the right direction. And, I think that starts with relationship building with your team, right? The number one thing that humans all want is to love and to be loved. And in the workplace, that might look a little different, right? Because we have to operate within norms and be professional. But ultimately, people need to feel cared for. They want to feel seen, they want to feel heard, they want to know that they are thought of and that people are thinking about them when they're making decisions. And so that starts with, building a relationship with your team, getting to know them, asking how they're doing personally and professionally, what things are they struggling with them that could be showing up with them, that day in the workplace or that week or that month. Um, I think leaders need to support employees bringing their whole self to work. And that starts with, creating a culture of responsibility, contribution, and feedback. And just open conversations, right? So having some dedicated time for you to check in with your team, time that's respected, right? Time that you're present, time that you're available to just support your team member. Um, Listening 80% of the time, asking how you can support your team member, asking what barriers they need removed, so that they can, go do their things, and figure out the way to get there on their path. Um, I think that the best leaders that I've been able to learn from are the leaders that keep it real, the leaders that are vulnerable, the leaders that show me a little bit of their messy human self and the things that they've navigated in the workplace, but also model compassion and grace for others. I think that those are really important qualities when we think about, how do we create people-centered culture, right? Like being flexible, thinking about the needs of your team, knowing that, people can operate within guardrails and, people want to be trusted, they want to be empowered, and they want to be supported to know to do their jobs. And so your job as a leader is to make their lives easier.
Absolutely. I think that's such great insight. And what you said about keeping it real, it sticks with me because we want to show up as humans at work, and be our authentic selves, and it's that's supported. And this is all such a great reminder that love and empathy are everyday leadership skills and not just special occasions. It should be part of our daily practice. So, thanks for your insights, Cynthia. And thank you all for tuning in again to Dear HR Insider. As a reminder, if you have a workplace or an HR question that you'd like answered, you can send it through to our Dear HR Insider form, and your question might be featured in an upcoming episode. Don't forget to follow People Group on LinkedIn and Facebook for more insights and publications from our team. We'll see you next time.